Now at 5 on WKYT this morning, a Cincinnati basketball player is being remembered after her inspirational battle with brain cancer. The community is honoring Lauren Hill next. A Corbin daycare owner denies allegations she abused a child. The investigation into the charges leveled against her coming up.
Widespread rain this morning, really along that I-64 corridor and into the southern zones. How long does this last? I'll show you your latest forecast, what you can expect out of this coming up.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning and welcome into you. Hope you're having a fabulous start to your Tuesday. I'm Rebecca Smith. Bill Bryant has the day off, and for any of you headed out to work or school today, expect to have to deal with some rain. And let's go now to Micah Harris, who's got a further look.
Yeah, and that rain is very widespread. It covers a big portion of the real estate here in the state of Kentucky, especially I-64 around that corridor and southbound. That's where you're seeing the bulk of it. The heaviest portion is really along that 64 corridor and also over toward the BG Parkway. Keep in mind that we will have some high water issues here and there, especially as you work your way back toward, say, the eastern zones where you have those valley areas. You just got to be watching out for that, those creeks and streams. Current temperatures are sitting there in the 50s and 60s. Pretty decent feel. But as we track off into the afternoon, it doesn't really budge that much. Right around 60 degrees. That rain is likely in the forecast, and those high water issues or even flooding, it's going to be our main concern. I'll show you that, what we expect out of it, and when it moves on out, coming up in a few minutes.
Folks living in flood-prone areas are keeping an eye on the rains. In eastern Kentucky, counties are more vulnerable to flooding, and they're hoping the next round of storms will not cause any more problems for them. Denny Smith operates the Estill County Golf Course and says it's already flooded twice this year because the course sits right next to the Kentucky River.
About every spring, we get a lot of rain and the water will come up.
Well, Estill County emergency management crews there say they'll have to wait and see how much rain falls before deciding if they need to take any action. And do not forget, you can always track severe weather even when you're away from your TV. On WKYT.com, you can take control of an interactive First Alert Defender and zoom into your neighborhood. You can also download the First Alert Defender radar app for your iPad or your smartphone. Just search for WKYT in your app store. Well, new this morning, a man's behind bars after Lexington police say he fired shots at someone last month only a few blocks away from a city park. WKYT's Mark Barber is at the Fayette County Courthouse this morning with the latest on the investigation. What can you tell us about this, Mark?
Good morning, Rebecca. Tyler Mack was arrested yesterday, but police had been searching for him since Thursday, which is when officers tell us he fired shots near a convenience store. Investigators tell us that the bullets in that shooting hit an unintended target, a vehicle that was carrying two people who were driving past the store on Glenarvan. Officers tell us they were not hurt. By the time police got there, we're told the shooter was gone, leaving behind multiple shell casings. According to an arrest warrant, detectives were not able to watch security video at first due to technical issues. However, when they fixed the problem, police say they saw Mack firing at a person who was holding a silver gun. Police say that they learned the shooter was Mack when their police gang resource unit identified him. We've learned from court records that Mack just got out of jail 2 months ago. In February, he was arrested and charged with receiving stolen property and first-degree drug possession. He posted bond the next day. According to court records, there is also a domestic violence case that is moving forward against him. That case was filed just 4 weeks ago. Now, the 21-year-old is set to be arraigned in this latest case later today. He is facing charges that include wanton endangerment, carrying a concealed deadly weapon, as well as criminal mischief. Live in Lexington, Mark Barber, WKYT.
All right, thanks so much, Mark. Well, thousands of people gathered at Xavier University last night to honor a teenage basketball player and cancer research advocate. Lauren Hill passed away Friday from a rare form of brain cancer. Her fight against the disease inspired many people around the country. Lauren played basketball for Mount St. Joseph University. Her public memorial service was held in the same arena where she scored her first basket just 5 months ago.
As we shared the wonder and joy of that day, we came to realize the depth of Lauren's dreams, to give hope to the young children stricken with
Well, before her death, Lauren helped to raise more than $1 million for cancer research. Money is still being donated to her nonprofit foundation. Well, a Knox County daycare owner accused of abusing a child in her care says she's not guilty. State police arrested 33-year-old Tracy Ford Friday. She's charged with criminal abuse. Ford owns the Rainbows and Lollipops daycare in Corbin. The arrest warrant says Ford placed a beanbag on top of a 2-year-old while he was sleeping. Police say Ford then sat on that beanbag while she used a computer. The daycare is now closed. Ford is being held on a $25,000 bond. The mayor of one central Kentucky town is now the target of a criminal investigation. According to a CBS affiliate in Louisville, the Bullitt County Sheriff's Department says Mayor Scott Ellis of Shepherdsville promised at least 3 women favors in exchange for sex. They say they have evidence to support one of those claims.
There was allegations that he offered to one person a pardon, even in exchange for sexual favor.
Well, local authorities say they turned their evidence over to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office for potential charges. Later today, the Kentucky State Court of Appeals will decide if it should uphold a lower court's decision to throw out the results of the Magoffin County Judge Executive's race. Well, earlier this year, a judge ruled at least 4 people were paid for their votes, so he threw out the race's results. The judge also said others benefited from property improvements from county workers before the election. Democrat Charles Doc Hardin beat Republican John Montgomery by 28 votes last November. Hardin denies any wrongdoing. Well, tonight, parents may be one step closer to finding out where their kids will be going to school next year. Fayette County schools redrawing boundaries in anticipation of 3 new schools in the city. WKYT's Sean Moody is at the school board with the details. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Rebecca. This is something parents across Lexington have been watching pretty closely for about a year now. Tonight, they'll get a look at where their children will be going to school if the school board approves this plan. The school training committee has been working on this plan for nearly a year. The school rezoning committee, rather. The school board will present this draft plan at a public meeting tonight from 6 to 8 at the district office here on East Main Street. This plan will affect students at elementary, middle, and high schools. The school board is encouraging parents to come out tonight to talk about any concerns they've got. They say they're not going to revisit any of their decisions, but they want the board to hear the public's opinion because the decision will now rest with the board. Now, if the school board approves the new zones, they'll go into effect in a couple of phases over the next few years. Elementary school zones would change for the 2016-2017 school year. Middle and high school zones would change for the 2017-2018 school year. Those dates are dependent upon new schools being built in time for those changes. Live in Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
An Alaska Airlines flight had to make an emergency landing in Seattle yesterday after someone got trapped inside the aircraft. The plane had just taken off from Seattle when the pilot reported hearing banging sounds coming from the cargo hold. CBS's Chris Van Cleef has the story.
This is Alaska Airlines Flight 448 making an emergency landing at the SeaTac Airport 14 minutes after taking off from Seattle bound for Los Angeles. Banging from underneath the plane alerted the crew to an unexpected passenger.
I think we have heard a noise from the baggage compartment to be a person in there, so we're going to come back around.
Passengers also heard something.
Someone on the flight, I guess, heard screaming from the cargo area. The captain told us that he couldn't tell us any information and we had to land.
Emergency crews followed the plane as it taxied to a stop, then opened the cargo door.
That's him. I think he's standing in the middle.
Alaska Airlines says the man, who was part of a 4-person crew loading baggage, fell asleep before takeoff in a pressurized and climate-controlled cargo area. Mark Rosenker is a CBS News national transportation safety expert and a former NTSB chairman.
Was he trying to catch 40 winks and sneak off a little from the job? Whatever it was, he clearly cost the airline a significant amount of money, and he's got a lot of explaining to do.
The man was able to walk out of the plane and was briefly examined at a hospital. The airline is now investigating. Chris Van Cleef, CBS News, New York.
Yikes. Alaska Airlines says the airport worker passed a drug test Monday. The flight finally made it to its destination, Los Angeles, at about 6 o'clock local time last night. One place you probably don't want to fall asleep, get any shut-eye in a plane hold. Okay, cargo hold. All right, 5:09 is the time. Let's get a look at live drive traffic. The rain is coming down, so as you can see, the street's a little wet out there this morning. Nicholasville and Alumni looking good. Some closures scheduled starting at 9 this morning at East Main Street in Walton. There's a situation there, and then also happening at Henry Clay Boulevard at Clayton, alternating lane closures, and that's through the 16th. WKYT This Morning is just getting started. Thanks so much for starting your day off with us.
We have heavy rain out and about, especially along the I-64 corridor, and make your way toward the BG Parkway. A lot of that sticks around for quite some time. I'll show you hour by hour when we can push it on out of here. Coming up.